So, good evening, good evening, good evening. Hopefully, you're all having a wonderful evening. And Boris has spoken again. This guy. Anyway, we won't go into what Boris said because I'll probably lose my channel because that's how it rolls these days. But yes, we are going to speak about Arsenal falling behind Tottenham financially for the first time in our history. I think, well, especially recent history, that's for sure. And I'd imagine probably for my lifetime, it's the first time that they're bigger than us financially. I'm going to read an article out. It's on football.london, um, and they've led with this in one of their articles today. I'm going to get into that very shortly. Make sure you do smash the likes up through the roof. Big up to everybody uh, who is watching live. Sorry if I'm a bit shaky. I'm sitting with this on my lap, like whee. So yeah, it's on my lap. I've been relegated to the basement, as Rickon says. Now I'm in the bedroom, mate. But yeah, I will be just to divert your attention to later on at 8:15, so 2 hours from now. I will be going on the Blue Boys Network channel, and no, it's not that type of that type of channel. Before you little perverts in the chat start kicking off, it's an Everton channel. Mike was on here with Turkish a couple of weeks back, and I'll be on there tonight. I think Saeed's on there as well from his channel United Central. I think he's going to be on there. I'll be on there for about half an hour, and then I'll be back again about 9 o'clock. So make sure you come and check that out. I'll stick the links out anyway a little bit later. But let me read this article out to you guys. In fact, let me share the stream. Let me stream. Oh, I'm having a mare today. Let me share the article. So there we go. Let me zoom in on this. If it works, there we go. I'll read this out if I can zoom in on it. Okay. So Tottenham Hotspur finished 2020 with a higher brand value than Arsenal for the first time, but the North London rivals still lag behind Chelsea, according to a financial survey published last week. Man United ranked top in terms of Premier League clubs. A significant fall has seen the champions Liverpool close the gap, with Manchester City narrowly ahead of Chelsea. Arsenal's decline is in value is sharper than any other traditional Big Six team, falling from a whopping $993 million to $796 in the last 12 months. That is mad. That is actually mad. We have dropped in terms of value by nearly 200 million quid. That is relentless. $197 million fall in 12 months, just gone off of our value. That is relentless, and that just goes to show how poorly managed we've been, not just by the owner, but in terms of by the scouting setup, overpaying for players, overpaying wages for players, buying players and then not playing players, then loaning them out, i.e. Saliba. And all of these things have accumulated, not just in the last 12 months, because we've been lagging behind Man United forever. Man United are massive. And we've been lagging behind Chelsea. Forget Man United. Chelsea, we have been lagging behind for a long time. But that in itself, nearly a $200 million drop in the last 12 months, is unbelievable, if I'm being honest. It continues on and says, in 2018, the club was valued at just over $1 billion, placing further scrutiny on their failure to progress under Stan Kroenke's ownership. The American has overseen a period of austerity at the club, much to the frustration of supporters. Their failure to qualify for the Champions League since 2017 has been a contributing factor in the pummeling value, but all clubs have been impacted by coronavirus. Obviously, that's still going strong right now as well. Spurs' valuation rose 18 million to 868 million. Now, obviously, that puts them ahead of us for the first time ever. Obviously, the fact that they opened a new stadium, a lucrative deal with Amazon for the All or Nothing documentary has obviously brought additional global attention, according to this. Then comes up with a stat for yellow cards in the Premier League. I don't know what that's all about, but there you go. Chelsea experienced a small decline from $1.085 billion to $1.051, On New Year's Eve, Roman Abramovich's side published the initial details of their accounts for the financial year up to June, with a fall in all revenue streams. They still turn a small profit thanks to the sale of Eden Hazard, Alvaro Morata, but had projected a record turnover before the pandemic's impact was felt, with the games taken behind closed doors. These figures released by Chelsea did not include the summer 250 million transfer spend. Obviously, that comes later down the road. That won't be announced now. According to the brand evaluation, United saw a decline from 1.651 to 1.465 billion, while Liverpool have risen from 1.336 billion to 1.398 billion. But just look at that. That in itself, that's Liverpool there that I've just highlighted there. Liverpool are nearly double their worth as a brand, as a business, as a company, as a football club, is nearly double what Arsenal is right now. And there's some contributing factors to that. Obviously, the fact that they haven't had to pay a stadium off. Their stadium is iconic. Let's be real. The Emirates is not an iconic stadium. The fact that they're winning Champions Leagues, the fact they're winning Premier League titles, the fact that they do their business really well. Like, they sell players for top money, not necessarily just buy them for cheap, but they actually sell players for top dollar, which, when you think about it, and YouTube comments for some, no, they are coming through. But when you think about it, the fact that Liverpool are valued at nearly twice what Arsenal are, that's actually mad. And they're very close to Man United, which is just ridiculous. You know, Man United are huge, and obviously Man United have taken a small hit. Liverpool, out of the big six, are the only ones other than Tottenham that have gone up a decent amount. And Tottenham are still paying for a stadium. That doesn't take into account, I don't think, the government grant or government loan that Tottenham took. But at the same time, that's kind of worrying. The fact that we've dropped $200 million nearly in 12 months in value. I mean, that's mad. That is actually mad. When I read this today, it took me ages to find this again. But when I read this earlier on today, I was like, I want to do a stream on this a little bit later. But just look at this. Look, that is just ridiculous. That is ridiculous. Like a $200 million drop in 12 months. And that just goes to show how poorly we've been run. It goes to show that, you know, the fact that fans are not at the ground, the fact that we charge the highest ticket prices in the world, that is costing us. That is costing us a lot. The fact that we're not in Champions League is obviously costing us. We're not a bigger brand than we were maybe 4 years ago or 5 years ago when we were in the Champions League. Obviously, you get the additional sponsorship deals by being part of a Champions League elite group, qualifying out of the group stages, obviously getting as far as you can. Normally with us, it's the round of 16, and that was the end of us, really, wasn't it? But you know, the fact that we've dropped $200 million. I'm shocked. I'm not shocked that we've lost money. Of course I'm not. I expected us to lose money, especially with our ticket prices being the highest on the planet. And the fact that we've not had fans in the ground. Match day revenue is a big thing for Arsenal. It's over £1 million every match game at the Emirates. So I expected us to lose a lot of money. I didn't expect us to lose 200 million quid in terms of actual value of the football club. And the fact that we're valued under $800 million is kind of worrying to me, because I'm just looking at that and I'm thinking, boy, we're not going to get top four this season by the looks of it, the way we've been playing. I don't think that we're going to go out and suddenly acquire big sponsorship deals over the next couple of months that are going to elevate us back into overtaking Tottenham first and foremost, but then actually catching Chelsea again. I mean, we're kind of quite far away behind Chelsea. You know, they're valued at if I can find Chelsea. Let me get rid of that. Chelsea, there you go. Chelsea are valued at what, £250 million higher than Arsenal. About 253 million more than Arsenal. That's mad. That's £250 million more than us. In fact, if you actually think about that, they're nearly 30% bigger than Arsenal in terms of revenue and in terms of how much their club's worth. That's mental. I'm actually gobsmacked. And when I read this, I thought, let me do a stream on this. And this man, like, people, listen, I'm not his biggest hater by any stretch of the imagination. Right? I look at him and I just think, okay, cool. It's not all down to you that we're crap. You know, we've spent a lot of money on shit, and he's overseen that. You know, at the same time, he now fully owns the football club. Big up to Robert as well for your donation. Thank you, mate. Good evening, Lee. Me and the old man loving your content. Proper gooners in the house. Come on, Bluetooth, baby. Bluetooth. Thank you, mate. Appreciate that. But the fact that we are like 30% smaller than Chelsea in terms of value of the football club probably goes to show the difference in how these two football clubs are run. We can start with the owner. Obviously, they've got an owner that cares. We've got an owner that don't. To me, it doesn't really matter whether the owner goes to games or not. That makes no difference in whether we're any good. Mike Ashley goes every week and they're shit, you know, and their fans want him gone. You know, Tottenham's owner lives on a yacht in the Caribbean. He's never at games. So I don't think the owner being at games necessarily means that the owner cares. I don't agree with that. I think that's just dumb to say that. But I think that now this guy is the owner fully, which he has been for what, 2 years, maybe nearly 2 years. He has now restructured the loan. He's paid the debt off of the stadium, which we were lied to for as long as we've moved to the Emirates. We're selling our best players to pay the debt off. Well, that was complete bollocks, because that weren't the case. And the debt was staggered over a 25-year mortgage. So it had nothing to do with selling our players. Yes, we had to have a certain amount of money put in the bank account in cash reserves, of course. But at the same time, he has paid that full debt off and restructured it as a loan back to himself at a lower interest rate. Tottenham Stadium, their stadium was 500 million over budget. But the way they've structured the payments, with the interest rate being a lot less than what our interest rate was with our bank, with Barclays, I think it was, that we structured our payments through, it means that their monthly or their yearly payments are about there or thereabouts what we were paying for the Emirates, which was a lot cheaper to build. So you've got to say Tottenham, as much as I don't like giving Tottenham credit, you know, you've got to say Tottenham have actually gone about their business and they have had a better plan in terms of building a stadium, financing everything, getting everything in place, not selling their best players, getting a top drawer manager in, spending within their means. It's not like the owner's throwing money in out of his own pocket. So people that get on Kroenke's case to say, oh, but we need a sugar. Well, we don't, because Tottenham are proving that. Although they've not won anything, cool, we can take trophies in a minute. But the way that club is run is exactly what we were told is going to happen to us when we move to the Emirates Stadium. That's not the case. We've had to sell all of our best players over the years to apparently keep our head above the parapet and stay above the water and keep ourselves going. Well, we've now found out that when Kroenke finally did buy all of the shares of the football club and become full owner of the club, that was complete bollocks, peddled to us by a manager that's no longer here, and peddled to us by people in the media pretending that that it was all rosy and we had to sell our players to pay the stadium just so they keep their perks at the club. You know, we already know who they are. But that wasn't the case. You can then go down to the board of directors. The board of directors have been trusted by the owner because he don't know nothing about football. They have been here a long time. They've been here longer than me on this planet. And they've been directors. A lot of them are now left. They've gone, retired, etc., etc. Some of them are still here. Some of them are just looking at it as, oh, I can pass it down to the grandkids and stuff like that. But then you've got an owner that's trusting them. They've got no interest in football. It's all about their dividends and taking money. Then they've employed Edu, who's not got a clue what he's doing. We've promoted Vinay, who hasn't got a clue what he's doing. We've sacked Ralstonelli. We've got Mislintat, who's left because he didn't like what was going on. We've had managers say that they don't want the job because they don't like the structure at the club. We've then employed a manager with no history of managing a football club. And when you add all of these things together, plus the fact that COVID kicked in and we've lost over £1 million on match day revenue, plus the fact that we've mismanaged our money, when you add all of these things together and it's a decade of issues put together, we're actually fucked. It's actually mad. We are actually a shambles. And the only way I see us getting out of this problem is by getting better on the pitch. Because if you look at a team like Chelsea, for example, and like I said, I'll come to trophies in a minute with Tottenham. In fact, I'll do that now. Trophies don't necessarily mean that you can't get big pay. You can't get big sponsor deals. You can't go and sign the biggest players. We know that. We see Chelsea sign Antonio Conte when they were 10th. They signed N'Golo Kante from the current champions Leicester when they were 10th. They've signed players over the years when you think, oh, why is he going there? You know, Eden Hazard was one of them. Yeah, he was a player that was highly tipped to go to other clubs. Man United being one of them. You know, Arsenal were in for him. Tottenham were in for him. No, we've seen these players. Tottenham were in for him as well. We've seen these players go to Chelsea because what Chelsea do is go, right, our biggest asset and our biggest revenue stream will come by us winning trophies. That's how Chelsea's model's been. Let's spend to get on the pitch. We get on the pitch, we get the best manager, we get the best team we can get, and then we go and win the trophies, which will bring us commercial and sponsorship deals later down the road, which has worked to a T for Chelsea. Man City have done it as well. Yes, they're struggling at the moment, but trust me, they have built a whole football club off of the back of being successful on the pitch, and a few other deals through their owners, other companies sponsoring training grounds and stuff like that, which is something that Stan Kroenke could do. He could sponsor Colney for 300 million quid and call it the LA Rams London Colney Training Centre or something. I don't know, but he could sponsor that for 300 million quid. That goes onto our books over the next 4 years at 75 million pound a year as extra income. He won't do that, right? I understand why he won't do that. A lot of people don't. They just think, oh, chuck your money at it. Well, it's all well and good, but we've chucked a lot of money at this over the last 10 years and we're still a mess. So why would he dip into his own pocket and do that by sponsoring the training ground? You know, I don't know. Let me read these super chats and I'll carry on. Can we arrange a show at some point? Yeah, possibly, man. I don't know when, but yeah, we can sort something later down the year, bruv. Definitely. Hope you're well, man. Appreciate that. Our club is run by makeshift CEO, a technical director, and a technical director, just like the players are always out of position. Get aces in their places. You're a poet, and get the results. And you're spot on, Niraj. You're spot on, and thank you for that. And this is the point, right? This is the point I'm getting to. Tottenham had a slightly different model to Chelsea. Chelsea, when we moved to the Emirates, had Roman Abramovich just come in, and their 10 to 15 year plan to be successful has been a lot better than Arsenal's. Now, people can sit there and say they've spent loads of money, blah, 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 blah. Chelsea turn a profit. You've just seen that. Chelsea, it just said there, Chelsea have actually shown a profit. Despite losing a little bit of money and their value dropping as a football club, they have still turned a profit. That is mad. And people can sit there and say, yeah, but Abramovich was throwing money at it, blah, blah, blah. He ruined the transfer market by upping the prices and paying over the odds. Well, listen, at the end of the day, if you want to be a successful football club, sometimes you do have to pay over the odds. We pay over the odds for shit. We have paid over the odds for Granit Xhaka, for Skodran Mustafi. We've paid over the odds for Pepe. We've paid over the odds for other players. Then we pay them over the odds in wages. Then they don't want to leave. You know, like Mesut Ozil, for example. You know, like Mustafi again. You know, like Hector Bellerin. You know, there's loads of players that we pay that are on way too much money to be at and shouldn't be at this football club. But that is down to our recruitment team and down to previous regimes not having a Scooby what they're doing, who have been employed by a board that are just ridiculously crap, who were then employed by, well, they weren't employed, they were already here, but they've been overseen by an owner that hasn't got a clue about football, that just lets them make the decisions and hire who they want to hire to put into them positions to just keep us above the water. Well, all in all, what's happened is over the last 10 years, we've just got worse and worse and worse on the pitch. And we've got worse and worse and worse as a brand globally. We've lost a whole generation of fans that now don't support Arsenal and won't support Arsenal growing up through their teenage years. They're supporting Chelsea or Liverpool or Man United, to a lesser degree Man United, because obviously they've fallen a little bit in the last 6-7 years. But they're now supporting City, you know, and supporting Liverpool and Chelsea. And we have lost a whole generation of kids growing up. What kid now wants to go and support Arsenal? When you're growing up as a kid, when you pick your football team as a kid, unless like me, your name was Gunner and you had to support Arsenal, you're going with the team that are the most successful in that time frame when you're growing up. So it's Well, I now know what football is. I like playing football. Oh, I watch football on Sky now. It's easily accessible on mobile devices and stuff like that. People can watch it anywhere in the world now. Oh, I'll tell you what. Oh, Liverpool are winning. I'll support them. And that's how you get fans. Chelsea have done it through being successful. Liverpool are massive anyway. They went through a long decline, but still picked up Champions Leagues along the way, the odd cups here and there. But now they've gone back to winning ways. They're going to pick up a whole generation now of the kids that are 6, 7, 8, 9 now, that now are going to go, yeah, I'm going to support Liverpool. They're the best team. You know, whether they live in Liverpool or not's irrelevant. And you're going to find that we're going to have a whole generation lost. That is down to the piss poor management, not just of this owner. Yeah. And I do blame the owner to a certain degree. I don't think it's all on him. I think Arsene Wenger's got a lot to answer for at this football club. And even though he's not here and people go, what are you banging on about him for? That guy run this club from top to bottom, and his word was God. His word was gospel at this football club. Oh, it's Arsene Wenger with 30 years experience. We have to listen to what Wenger says, you know, and because the people above him didn't really have a Scooby about football, they just went with it. Then you've got an owner who didn't really have a Scooby about football. So he just went with what they're saying. Yeah, cool, we're going with Wenger. And they're relaying that back to their top boy, the boss, the owner. So they're going to, oh, all right then. The worst example, or probably the best example of the worst situation, is giving Mesut Ozil 350 grand a week. In what world is that geezer worth 350? Even if he was smashing it, he's not 350. When you go and have a look at De Bruyne, how much is De Bruyne on? How much is Aguero on? Sterling, Salah, Mane, all these top ballers, how much are they on? They're not on 350. There's only a handful of players in world football that are on 350 grand a week. How in any way, shape or form did we come to the conclusion that Mesut Ozil was worth 350 grand a week? That there is a cock up. Aubameyang, Georgie says. Aubameyang, yes. Yeah, you're right. Listen, let's not dress it up here. Aubameyang's a top banger in terms of goals. If he don't score, he does nothing. We've said this for time. All of us have said this. Whether you support Arsenal or not, I think pretty much everyone agrees that if Aubameyang don't score, he does nothing. He can't hold the ball up. He doesn't win headers. He does track back a lot more now, to be fair to him. He can't dribble. He's not physical. He's as tall as me. He's as skinny as me. He's got nothing about him apart from movement and goals, which, listen, let's be real, win you trophies. Goals is hard. Keeping clean sheets is hard. Yeah, creating chances is hard. I get it all over the park. But to put the ball in the back of the net on the relentless basis that he does, very similar to Vardy at your club, that is hard. But if he ain't doing it, all of a sudden, he looks out of his depth. And it coincides with the fact that we've given him 375. That 375 is now looking like a complete fuck up. Yeah, and again, we've got ourselves into a position where we had to give him that money because we were so scared of losing him. And the reason we were so scared of losing him is because of piss poor management above him about allowing him to run his contract down. Very similar to Mesut Ozil. It was Alexis or Ozil. Pick one. We picked the wrong one. Yeah, you can say now in hindsight, which is a wonderful thing, oh, well, Alexis flopped at Man United. Alexis at Arsenal, even in that last season before he went in January, I was at his last game. I was at all of his games. Yeah, Alexis still scored 9 goals by Christmas or January before he got moved to Man United. We should have given it to Alexis and we didn't. And we shouldn't be paying out 350 to anyone. You know, Aubameyang is a very good finisher. He's a very good instinctive goal scorer. Get him in a box, his movement's one of the best I've ever seen, especially in this league anyway. You know, his movement's ridiculous. But when it's going wrong, that 375 now looks like a royal cock-up, doesn't it? You know, Tottenham don't have Harry Kane on 350 or 375. They don't have Son on 350 or 375. And let me tell you now, both of them are better footballers than Aubameyang. Both of them. You know, you can debate whether Aubameyang's a better goal scorer or not all day long. But in terms of football and footballing ability and footballing brain and footballing IQ, they're levels above him. Levels above him. Harry Kane's one of the most intelligent footballers on the planet. Son, if he wasn't South Korean, would be lauded up there with the fucking very best on the planet. So, you know, when I look at Tottenham and I look at Chelsea, and I've seen this report that for all you guys that are joining late, you probably don't know what I'm talking about. But when I've seen this report that Tottenham are now worth more than Arsenal as a football club, And we've lost nearly $200 million in 12 months off our value as a football club. Well, all of these little things have added up over the last decade, plus the fact coronavirus has cost us a lot of money, but it ain't going to cost us 200 million in 12 months. Let's be real here. It's not going to have cost us 12 months, nearly $200 million. And it just goes to show how poorly we've been run. And it's tragic, because the only way I see us getting out of this is by plucking gems. Yeah, not the big names. Listen, we've got Aubameyang. I hope he turns it around. I really do. Because if he goes back to the form that he was in when he first signed up until this season, he's been relentless. Only Mo Salah had outscored him, I think. Obviously, if you look at the stats now, Vardy will be clear of him. I think Vardy was level with him, or just one behind or one above him. But them three, they were gone. Yeah, and Salah was the only one, I think I'm right in saying that. Salah was the only one who scored more goals than him in the league since Aubameyang joined. Vardy was very close behind. I think it was one behind him. Vardy would be well gone now, because Aubameyang's been crap this season. He's not scoring. And I think that, when you look at it, the only way we get out of this is to pluck gems like Martinelli, Guendouzi. Go and get him back. Go and get him back, play him, get his value up to 35, 40 million quid and sell him. Then go and get a better player. Do the same with the other youngsters. Put Willock in the team, play him, get him up to 20 million, bin him. Put Maitland-Niles in, get him up to 25 million, bin him. Because that's the only way I see us moving forward. Yes, we've got a lot of money coming off the wage bill in the summer, but don't get it twisted. If anyone thinks that after we've just lost 200 million off our value and we're losing match day revenue week in, week out, that we're going to go out there and suddenly do 200 million quid in the summer, or 150 in the summer, boy, you're so far deluded, it's mad, because we ain't doing that. Yeah, we ain't doing a lot in January. I've been telling people this for months. People think that we're going and signing 4 players this window. Boy, you want to stop smoking the pipe. Get on the Stella. Like, come on. Big up to all of you. Over 1,100 watching. Smash the granny out the like button. I'm going to swig my beer and carry on. Lovely jubbly. But let me read this out from Guna 1990s. Big up to you, my guy. Thanks for your donation, man. I do appreciate that. I think our decline was pretty much guaranteed with this owner, but Wenger was in thinking he could compete with the structure made it worse. Bruv, this is the problem, right? I was around before Stan Kroenke came to this football club. Yeah, and it's not a dig at anyone who wasn't around in that era or wasn't old enough in that era to have known the background of Hillwood and all of them lot, and David Dean and Usmanov and all of that lot. But we didn't want to move to the Emirates to be financially backed by a multi-billionaire throwing money into it, because if that was the case, we could have stayed where we were. We could have done that. You don't need a big stadium to compete. Yeah, you genuinely don't. Juventus have got a stadium smaller than Sunderland. Leicester's stadium's not that big. Chelsea's stadium's not that big. We've spent more net spend in the last 6 years than Chelsea Football Club. Look at their squad. Look at our squad. Yes, they're not doing great at the minute, but neither are we. I know which squad I'd pick. Do you know what I'm saying? And Man United in the last 3 years have only spent more than us. They're the only club in world football that has spent more than us net in the last 3 years. So we didn't move to be the sugar daddy owner type club. We moved to be financially sufficient, self-sufficient, etc., which is exactly what we are. So, now we've had so many cock-ups in the last 15 years. All of a sudden, everyone now wants us to get the money out and throw money at it. Well, that's all well and good, but then why would you do that when you've not got a history of doing it anyway? And when your team's shit, you then throw 150 million at it. Well, we're seeing with Kai Havertz and Werner, because a lot of people are cussing them at the minute, just by throwing big money at it doesn't necessarily guarantee it. So I kind of understand why people get on the owner's case, but at the same time, I understand why we moved to that stadium and what we were told we were moving to that stadium for. Financially sufficient, self-sufficient, and to compete with the best. We have fucked up royally in the last 15 years, and that is down to Wenger running that club from top to bottom, the board sucking up everything he said, and then them filtering it back to at that time, the majority shareholder, Stan Kroenke. Then when you look at it, we've then employed other people. We've got rid of Wenger. We've got rid of Gazidis. We've got Raul Sanelli in. We brought Mislintat in. He wanted no part of it and soon scurried off. You know, we've brought in players well over the odds. Like I said, Nicola Pepe, I like him. I think he's a good baller. He ain't 72 million quid good. Yeah. And that in itself is a fucking liberty. He's on what, 120 a week, 72 million. That's £100 million cock up right there. Then you've got William Saliba. Let's say he was on 20 grand a week. 27 million quid plus 20 grand a week. That's £1 million a year for 4 years. That's £31 million cock up. That's £131 million. We're just going to write off just like that with Pepe and Saliba. That's unacceptable. That's unacceptable. When you look at Liverpool's team, their starting 11 probably cost less than ours. Look at their team. You know, and that is down to a decade or more of piss poor decisions, ultimately overseen by an owner and by a board of directors that are clueless, and by technical director Edu, a CEO that ain't got a fucking Scooby what day it is, Raul, who's probably not got a clue what day it was and recruiting his fucking pal who's an agent to bring in shit. Yeah, and now he's gone. Now we've brought in a technical director who ain't got a clue, never done the job before, with a manager who ain't got a clue and never done the job before. It is a fucking shambles. And you know what? If this was any other type of business, this business would have liquidated time ago. Real talk. If this was a day-to-day wholesalers or something like that, the company would have folded time ago with the amount of fuck-ups at this club in the last 15 years. And when you look at Tottenham, they've built the new stadium, well over budget, well behind the completion date and stuff like that. When you look at that and then you see that their brand as a club, and if they was to sell it now, it's worth more than Arsenal. Boy, that's mad. That is mad. Their stadium's better than ours. Their manager's better than ours. Their squad is better than ours. And they're bigger than us in terms of how much their club's worth. And they've done all of that while we're sitting there laughing that they've not won any trophies. Well, listen, they've set themselves up, whilst keeping their best players, by the way, they've set themselves up and put a structure, a proper structure in place. And now they've got the foundations to go and kick on and be that big club. Because listen, you can take the piss out of them all you like. They are better than us in a lot of aspects. Like I've just said, trophies, they're nowhere near. Yeah, and they won't be for a long time. But that don't mean they're not going to win trophies. They have got every infrastructure set in place right now at that football club for them to go on and become a big club. Yeah, and that makes it even fucking worse. The fact that we're declining whilst that lot are getting bigger. Yeah, and it fucking hurts. And when everyone sits there and says, trust the process, no, fuck your process. Go and get a proper manager in that can coach these players. We've got a good set of players here. We've got Martinelli, Saka, Smith Rowe. Reece ain't all that bad. He ain't great. I don't particularly rate him. I'd rather him than Buendia. I'd rather watch Reece. I'd rather Willock in the team than fucking Xhaka. I'd rather Smith Rowe than Bellerin. I'd rather Saliba in defence than Mustafi or Holding. We've got Gabriel. We've got Leno. He's not a bad keeper. We've got Tierney. He's a baller. We've got Pepe. We've got Aubameyang. We've got Partey. That's a good core of players. And with the right manager, we can fly up that table. And these players will then become resellable assets that we have got out of Highland and sold for 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 million quid that then gets reinvested into the team, which then builds us back up. Because for me, that's the only way we're doing that. I don't see us coming back just by going and throwing money at it. We have to get these kids rocking. And Martinelli and Saka, they're the two gems, mate. They're worth 100 million quid now if we was to sell them because of the length of the contract and the potential. That's why I'm so adamant I would give Balogun the money. Yes, it's a massive amount of money. Just give him the fucking money. Give him the money, because I'll tell you something, if that kid walks out of this football club and goes and smashes it somewhere else, we're going to be sitting here in 3 years' time saying, fucking hell, it's Serge Gnabry the second. Serge Gnabry's worth 70 million quid right now. That 70 million quid could be us selling him in 3 years' time or 2 years' time. You know, we don't know, do we? Is it worth the risk? We're paying Bellerin 116 grand a week. I'd rather pay fucking Balogun. At least I'll be excited watching Balogun. Do you know what I'm saying? But there we go. That is what it is. My battery is nearly dead on this Mac, by the way. I'm on 6%, so we're going to rifle through as many comments real quick before I die. Do smash the likes up. 1,200 watching. Big up, Omar. I know you're on my clout about this as well, bruv. Let me say this to you, yeah? Let me just leave you with this thought, my friend. Hudson-Odoi, they gave him Chelsea 120 grand a week. And the reason they did that is because Bayern Munich wanted him for 50 million quid. So they said, yo, you ain't having him. We're going to give him 120 grand a week. You ask any Chelsea fan, they'd rather watch him every week than they would some of these other stars that they've signed. Chelsea fans were crying out for Hudson-Odoi the other day, and he came off the bench and he scored. You know, sometimes you've got to take a risk. You know, we've let too many players. Donnell Malin's another one. He's worth dough. Who was the other one? Ben Assa. He's gone. Another one. Jeff Adelaide, another one. He's worth dough now. You know, if you look at these kids that we've let leave for fuck all, maybe sometimes it is just saying, yo, it's a lot of money. It could go very fucking bad. But you know what? Can you get to the level of Lacazette? I reckon he can. And we're paying Lacazette 160. And all we're doing, let's be real here. If we put him on 100 grand a week for 5 years, that's 25 million pounds. It'll cost us 25 million pounds to go and sign a striker that I personally think would be better than him and go and score more goals than him in the league. And we might have to go outside of the league to go and get that striker. And then it's a risk as well. So for me, I'd rather take the risk with somebody that's in the academy, has grown up at the club, knows the club, wants to do well at the club. I'd rather take that risk. When you're looking at somebody like Bellerin, Xhaka, Mustafi, all on 100 grand a week, they're shit. The shining lights of last season were Martinelli, Saka, Aubameyang and Leno. All two of them are kids. So for me, I'd rather give him the money, man. I'd rather give him the money. Big up Stephen Featley. Go and subscribe to S Featley TV, baby. Shows the mismanagement at the club, yet people still trust the process. I've waited 16 years. Exactly. This season should have been all about integrating as many of these kids into this team as possible. Because if we are going to have a process, I don't want that process to involve Granit fucking Xhaka. I do not want it to involve Hector Bellerin, Skodran Mustafi, Rob Holding, Kolasinac, albeit he's gone for 6 months. I wanted it to involve Gabriel, Saliba, Maitland-Niles, Tierney. When I said this back in the summer, make that the back four, everyone was laughing. Oh, it's too young and inexperienced. But it's better than watching these clowns slipping and sliding all over the place every week, isn't it? At least I'd get excited watching that. Yes, they're going to make mistakes, but they'd learn from their mistakes. Skodran Mustafi and Holding and all these other shit footballers we've got are not going to learn from their mistakes. So for me, I'd rather watch Martinelli every week than watch fucking Aubameyang, albeit I love Aubameyang. If it's a choice of left wing right now, Martinelli's in. I'd rather watch him. Saka, I'd rather watch him than Willian. Yeah, or even Pepe right now. And I love Pepe and Aubameyang, but I'd rather watch the kids. I'd rather watch them play. You know, at least they're going to get you excited and off your seat. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, and it just winds me up, man. Winds me up. And if he had gone with this season, from the start of the season, and said, yo, we won the FA Cup. Yeah, we've done that. Now this season, it's about integrating Smith Rowe into the team. Saka, Martinelli, Saliba, Maitland-Niles, Willock, Reece. 7 youngsters right there. They're not going to play every game. I get that. They're not going to play every game. But if you're integrating them in and they're playing 2/3 of the game or half of the games, all of a sudden I can say, yo, I can see a different direction we're going in here and I'll trust that process. Instead, he's going with Bellerin stinking it out every week. Xhaka stinking it out every week. Everyone's sitting there crying for Mesut Ozil. We put Smith Rowe in for 3 games and we look so much better. Albeit the opposition in the last 2 have been shit. You still got to beat them. Yeah, you still got to beat them. And that's something we weren't doing a few months ago, was beating shit teams. So Saliba, I don't get that. I don't get how we have loaned that kid out. That kid, when you compare him to Fofana, who was his partner at St Etienne, he's been one of the centre-backs of the season. And he was apparently the worst one of the 2. Hence why we brought Saliba. It just makes no sense. You know, I don't get it, man. I genuinely do not get it. I do not get it. But there we go. Yeah, don't remind me of that 1000th game, bruv. That was when the referee decided that Oxlade-Chamberlain was Kieran Gibbs. Lee's Max about to die. It's on 3%. It's on 3%. I just see your comment, Marble Hall. I can't pin that, bruv. Oh dear. Big up to Ewan. I'm a teenager, and the amount of abuse I get for supporting Arsenal is sad. Majority of my friends support Chelsea, Man U, Liverpool. There you go. Whole generation has gone. Listen, my battery's literally on 1%. I'm gonna have to bounce. It is literally freezing as well. The screen. So listen, I do apologize. I would have carried on longer because I'm mad passionate about this, but maybe we can continue this on another time. But I will be back at 9 o'clock with a new charged Mac. Big up to Jez. Get Joey Barton in. He'd kick the shit out of everyone. Get Roy Keane in. But yeah, big up to Stephen. When are we doing a stream together? I don't know, man. I am so busy, bruv. I can't lie. And even when I come off of this, I'm gonna have to plug my Mac in, chop it up, and stick it out on socials. Then I've got to eat. Then I'm on Blue Boys Network in an hour and 15 minutes on their channel. And then I'm back again at 9. Then after that, it's like, oh, chill. So I genuinely don't know, bruv. But we will sort something this year for sure, 100%, bruv. Big up, bro. I agree that Wenger was around too long, lost the plot, but his incompetency and nepotism breeds from Kroenke. Big up, Lee. Big up to you. Listen, I don't disagree with you, mate. They're all culpable, every single one of them. Every single one of them. But for me, the end of the day, throw the kids into this team because they will be the ones that ultimately get us back to being where we should be, whether that be through them being good or whether they become the assets that we sell to then make the money to go and buy better players. That's how we do it. We've got a good core of players there that can elevate us up to top 4 anyway. And with a proper manager this season, we would have won 3 more games and we'd be 1 point off fucking Liverpool. Yeah, and we would be in a title race. And when I said this at the start of the season, people going, "Oh, you're mad. Rome weren't built in a day." Well, it can be. It can be with the right team and the right manager. And we've got the players within that 30-man squad or 25-man squad. We can pick 15 players to go on a match day or 18 players to go on a match day that are capable of lifting us up into that top 4 with a proper manager. And yeah, there we go. Anyway, I'm going to have to bounce because this Mac is dead. But big love to all of you guys. Appreciate it. Do hammer the likes. Lee Gunner 82 on Insta. Follow that as well. And I'll be back later.